Grand Admiral Vex'Naal of the mighty Zor'Kravian Empire stood rigid on the command bridge of the inevitable conquest, his forearms clasped tightly behind his back in what his subordinates recognized as the universal posture for someone's about to get spaced. The massive viewscreen before him displayed a scene so bewildering, so utterly preposterous, that his second eyelids had been twitching uncontrollably for the past 17 minutes. "Explain," he hissed, the words slithering through needle-like teeth, "why our most technologically advanced stealth vessels are being towed back to the mothership like broken cargo haulers." The ships in question, sleek, obsidian crafts designed to be undetectable by anything short of divine intervention, were indeed being ignominiously dragged back by emergency recovery vessels, their immaculate hulls now covered in what appeared to be primitive adhesive decorations. One particularly offensive vessel sported a large rectangular message across its quantum phase rear deflector that read, "My other ride is a UFO," in garish neon letters. Intelligence Officer Miptyk scurried forward, datapad clutched in trembling appendages. The junior officer's skin had turned the pale green shade that indicated extreme stress, which, given the Admiral's current mood, was an entirely appropriate biological response. "My most sincere apologies, Grand Admiral," Miptyk stammered, mandibles clicking anxiously. "It appears that when our scout ships approached the target planet, Earth as the natives call it, they were detected." "Detected?" Vex'Naal's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "Our phase-shifted, quantum-cloaked vessels were detected by a species that still uses combustion engines and believes digital watches are sophisticated technology?" "Yes, Admiral, not only detected but disabled. The humans apparently used what our preliminary analysis indicates were electromagnetic pulse devices, cobbled together from something called microwave ovens and blenders." The bridge fell silent. Even the ambient hum of the ship's engines seemed to quiet in shock. "And the decorations?" The Admiral gestured to the viewscreen with one clawed hand. Miptyk's third eye closed reflexively, as if unwilling to witness the Admiral's reaction to what came next. "After disabling our ships, the humans did not capture or interrogate our crews, as military protocol would dictate. Instead, they threw what they called a welcome party. There was something called karaoke involved, and jello shots, and selfies." The Admiral's exoskeletal ridges darkened, the Zor'Kravian equivalent of a dangerous flush. "Our elite intelligence-gathering officers participated in these acts." "I'm afraid so, sir. The crew has returned completely compromised. They're all wearing garments called T-shirts with primitive graphical displays such as INY and Keep Calm and Probe On. 3 of them refuse to remove devices called AirPods and keep making rhythmic movements with their appendages. Chief Intelligence Analyst Zor'Kravian keeps attempting to explain something called memes to anyone who will listen and laughs uncontrollably at random intervals. On the viewscreen, one of the returning ships slowly rotated to reveal its underside completely covered in what appeared to be colorful stickers of Earth fauna, primarily felines in improbable situations with grammatically questionable captions. From the science station, senior xenoanthropologist Lev Brack cleared her throat tentatively. "If I may, Admiral." "You may not," snapped Vex'Naal, but the scientist continued anyway. "Our preliminary cultural analysis suggests there's something unusual about these humans. Their psychological profile doesn't align with any species we've encountered in 17 galactic sectors. They appear to function through a chaotic blend of contradictory impulses, irrational decision-making, and something they call vibes. I strongly recommend further study before—" "Enough!" The Admiral's fist crashed down on the command console, sending a spiderweb of cracks through its crystalline surface. "These primitive bipeds have mocked the glory of the Zor'Kravian Empire. They have defaced imperial property. They have corrupted our intelligence operatives with their parties and their memes." "But, sir," persisted Lev Brack, "there are anomalies in their behavioral patterns that—" "The only anomaly," Vex'Naal snarled, "is that they still exist when they should already be conquered. Prepare the invasion fleet. We bypass standard protocols. No more observation, no more intelligence gathering. We will crush these humans immediately and add their insignificant world to our glorious empire. As the bridge crew hurried to comply, Lev Brak exchanged worried glances with Mip Tik. The xenoanthropologist's expression clearly conveyed a singular thought. This isn't going to end the way he thinks it will. On the view screen, another scout ship came into view. Someone had attached what appeared to be oversized, fuzzy appendages called googly eyes to its sensory array, giving the deadly Imperial vessel the appearance of a surprised cartoon character. The Admiral's eye twitched harder. The Zor'Kravian Empire's most intimidating diplomatic vessel, the harbinger of inevitable subjugation, descended through Earth's atmosphere with all the subtlety of a rhinoceros in a crystal shop. Its massive obsidian hull blotted out the sun over New York City as it positioned itself directly above the United Nations headquarters, causing traffic jams, thousands of social media posts, and at least 17 impromptu end-of-the-world parties. A beam of crimson light shot from the vessel's underside, projecting a 20-story hologram of Admiral Vex'Naal over the East River. His forearms were folded across his armored chest, mandibles clicking menacingly. "Humans of Earth," the hologram boomed in surprisingly perfect English. "Your pitiful world has insulted the glorious Zor'Kravian Empire for the last time. We hereby officially declare war upon your species. Prepare to be conquered, your resources plundered, and your civilization catalogued as another footnote in our 10,000-year history of galactic domination. You have exactly one Earth rotation to surrender unconditionally or face annihilation." The hologram flickered out, leaving behind a stunned silence that lasted approximately 8 seconds before humanity responded in the most human way possible. A global television broadcast interrupted regular programming on every channel worldwide. A flashy game show set appeared, complete with spinning wheels, flashing lights, and an overly enthusiastic host wearing a sequined suit. "Good evening, Earth, and welcome to Who Wants to Salvage Alien Technology?" The host's voice reached a pitch that threatened nearby windows. "That's right, folks. It's time for our special emergency broadcast lottery to determine which lucky nation gets first dibs on all that sweet, sweet alien tech when we inevitably confuse these invaders into submission." Inside the UN Security Council chamber, representatives from world governments watched the broadcast with expressions ranging from horror to barely suppressed laughter. "Please tell me this isn't our official response," groaned the Secretary General, head in hands. "Actually," said a staff member, "ratings are through the roof, and we've already received calls from 17 countries demanding to know how many lottery tickets they get based on their UN contribution." The Secretary General pinched the bridge of his nose. "Assemble a response team, immediately. People who might actually understand how to communicate with angry aliens." "Already on it, sir," said his aide, sliding a folder across the table. "We've identified our top specialist in xenolinguistics, Dr. Eleanor Chen." "The Dr. Chen who was fired from MIT last month?" "The very same. Wasn't she fired for insubordination?" The aide cleared his throat. "The official record states she told the dean his theory on extraterrestrial communication had all the scientific merit of a fortune cookie written by a drunk toddler." "Perfect," the Secretary General sighed. "She's hired." 24 hours later, Dr. Eleanor Ellie Chen stood in a hastily assembled command center beneath the UN building, surveying her elite team with the kind of weary resignation usually reserved for kindergarten teachers on a field trip to a candy factory. "Let me get this straight," she said, pushing her glasses up her nose. "I'm supposed to save humanity with you three?" "Jackson Abara," said a tall man with dreadlocks, pulled back in a ponytail, extending his hand. His other arm cradled what appeared to be a toaster duct-taped to a satellite phone. "Former military engineer. Call me Jack." "What is that contraption?" Ellie asked, eyeing the device suspiciously. "Universal translator, probably. 70% sure, maybe 65. He grinned. "It's either going to decode alien languages or make really aggressive toast." "Fabulous," Ellie muttered. She turned to the second team member, a woman with an almost painfully bright smile. "Zoe Patel," the woman said, pumping Ellie's hand enthusiastically. "Diplomatic Corps. My specialty is aggressive friendliness." That, not a real diplomatic specialty. Tell that to the 3 dictators I've hugged into arms reduction treaties, Zoe replied, smile never faltering. Nobody expects the weaponized cheerfulness. Ellie turned to the final team member, a confused-looking middle-aged man in khakis and a polo shirt, holding a stack of pizza boxes. And you are? Dave Miller. I teach history at Hudson Community College. He shrugged helplessly. I was delivering pizzas to the emergency meeting upstairs. Someone handed me a badge, and now I'm here. I've been trying to tell someone for hours, but everyone keeps giving me folders and asking about my thoughts on alien historical patterns. Why haven't you left? Dave held up his pizza delivery bag. Nobody's paid for these yet. Plus, I've always wanted to see a real government bunker. Before Ellie could respond, alarms blared. The main screen flickered to life, showing another Zor'Kravian transmission. Admiral Vex'Naal appeared, his exoskeletal ridges darkened with rage. Humans, we have observed your response to our declaration of war. You appear to be conducting some sort of entertainment competition? Let me be absolutely clear. We are going to annihilate your species. There will be no survivors, no negotiation, no... Ellie nodded to a technician who cut the transmission. She turned to her team. Suggestions? Gift basket, said Zoe immediately, with local delicacies and a handwritten note. I've got some leftover buffalo wings in the pizza bag, offered Dave. I can rig up something that might scramble their communications, Jack said, already dismantling his toaster translator. Ellie pinched the bridge of her nose. Send them the wings, Zoe's gift basket, and an invitation to talk things over during the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was 2 months ago, Dave pointed out. They don't know that, Ellie replied. Besides, it'll confuse them, and confused enemies make mistakes. Aboard the inevitable conquest, Admiral Vex'Naal stared at the items before him. A wicker basket containing various Earth foods, a grease-stained container of buffalo wings which, puzzlingly, contained no actual flying appendages of the Earth creature called buffalo, and a handwritten note inviting his empire to Netflix and chill while they talked things over during the Super Bowl. This is their response to imminent annihilation, he sputtered. Intelligence Officer Miptik cautiously sniffed a buffalo wing. Perhaps it's a cultural tradition, Admiral? A ritual offering before battle? Or a trick, hissed the Admiral. He crushed the invitation in his clawed hand. They mock us again. No more protocols. No more warnings. Deploy the planet killers immediately. In the corner of the command bridge, xenoanthropologist Levbrak quietly made a notation on her datapad. Humans, masters of psychological warfare. Method, absolute nonsense. The Zor'Kravian armada hung in Earth's orbit like a constellation of menacing obsidian shards. On the bridge of the flagship Inevitable Conquest, Admiral Vex'Naal was midway through his pre-annihilation speech, a tradition dating back 17 millennia, when something strange happened to the ship's communication system. And so begins the glorious conquest of yet another world under the mighty fist of... The Admiral's voice cut out, replaced by a loud purring sound. The massive view screen flickered, and the strategic battle map was suddenly replaced by a video of an Earth feline knocking objects off a shelf while maintaining direct eye contact with the camera. What is this? Vex'Naal roared. Restore communications immediately. Communications Officer Tazler frantically worked his console. I'm trying, Admiral. Somehow the humans have identified our shield frequencies and are broadcasting on all channels. His voice rose to a panicked pitch. They're everywhere. Thousands of them. The view screen cycled through a rapid succession of cat videos, one wearing a shark costume riding a cleaning device, another startling at the sight of a cucumber, a third with a piece of bread framing its face. How is this possible? The Admiral hissed. Our encryption technology is 17 generations beyond their most advanced systems. From her station, xenoanthropologist Levbrak cleared her throat. If I may, Admiral, I noticed during preliminary observations that humans spend approximately 73% of their global data transmission capability on sharing these cat videos. It's possible they simply tried broadcasting them on every conceivable frequency simultaneously. That's just brute force stupidity. And yet, Levrak said quietly, it appears to be working. The first wave of ground troops deployed to New York City with precision military efficiency. Elite Zor'Kravian commandos, each with the fighting capability of 50 human soldiers, materialized in Central Park with weapons charged, ready to establish a beachhead for the main invasion. 3 hours later, Commander Vex'Naal frantically called the mothership. Request immediate extraction. We are compromised. Compromised? Admiral Vex'Naal's voice crackled through the comm unit. You're the most elite fighting force in 17 galactic sectors. What could possibly... The humans have deployed chemical warfare, Admiral. Airborne compounds they call street food. My soldiers have abandoned their posts to acquire more of these hot dogs and pretzels. 2 entire squadrons have been rendered combat ineffective by something called a Mr. Softy truck. Regroup immediately and... I've lost contact with Alpha Squad. Last report placed them in something called Times Square. We tracked their biosignatures, but... The commander's voice lowered to a horrified whisper. When we arrived, they were participating in something called a dance battle with the local population. They've removed their combat armor and are attempting to spin on their heads. The Admiral terminated the communication with a violent jab at his console. Launch the second wave, he commanded. Target their population centers in the eastern landmass. Do you mean Asia, sir? Offered Navigation Officer Keptir. I don't care what they call it, just destroy it. In Tokyo, Wing Commander Draz's Corps surveyed the perfect landing site for the Zor'Kravian mining operation. Their scans had detected significant mineral deposits beneath this densely populated area, and once they cleared the existing structures and inhabitants, excavation could begin immediately. The landing craft had barely touched down when the unit noticed a peculiar development. The locals, instead of fleeing in terror, were rapidly constructing temporary structures around the landing zone. Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze, bearing strange symbols alongside crude representations of their landing craft. What are they doing? Draz's Corps demanded, observing through the ship's viewports. Science Officer Mikvel consulted her scanner. It appears to be a festival, sir? Our translation software indicates they're calling it the first annual Tokyo Zor'Kravia Friendship Celebration. But we haven't even begun conquest operations yet. When the bay doors opened and the heavily armed soldiers marched down the ramp, they were greeted by enthusiastic applause and showered with small paper objects. Confetti, sir, explained Mikvel as a piece landed on the commander's shoulder, a traditional Earth celebration material. We are not here to celebrate, we are here to conquer. But Draz's protests died in his throat as a group of humans approached, gesturing for the soldiers to join a long line of people performing synchronized movements. The dance of new intergalactic friendship, Mikvel translated from a nearby banner. They want us to participate. Absolutely not. Begin clearing operations immediately. But the order came too late. 3 of his frontline soldiers had already been integrated into the dance line, awkwardly attempting to mimic the humans' movements while still holding their planet-killer rifles. This is Commander Draz's Corps requesting immediate tactical guidance, he barked into his communicator. The humans are dancing at us. How do we respond to this? Only Static answered. I can't believe this actually worked. Dr. Eleanor Chen whispered as she, Jack, Zoe, and Dave crept through the corridors of a landed Zor'Kravian scout vessel. Jack grinned, holding up his contraption, a universal TV remote duct-taped to a smartphone running what appeared to be a garish dating app with alien emojis. Told you my skeleton key would work? You said it had a 65% chance of success, Ellie reminded him. And I was right. It worked 65% faster than I expected. Zoe peeked around a corner. Clear, though I still think we could have just knocked and introduced ourselves. They're invading our planet, Ellie pointed out. Still no reason to be rude, Zoe sniffed. Dave, trailing behind with wide eyes, whispered, Should I still be here? I really feel like I should have gone home by now. You're our cultural expert, Ellie replied. I teach History 101 to hungover freshmen. Close enough. They reached what appeared to be the ship's central data core, a crystalline structure pulsing with blue-green light. Jack immediately began interfacing his device with an access port. "Jackpot," he murmured as alien symbols streamed across his phone screen. "I'm in their central database. Psychological profiles, cultural analyses, tactical weaknesses. It's all here." Ellie leaned over his shoulder, eyes widening as she translated. "This is... Oh my God, their species evolved without any concept of figurative language. No sarcasm, no metaphor, no hyperbole. Everything is completely literal to them." Zoe frowned. "So when I sent that invitation saying we should Netflix and chill, they probably thought we wanted to lower the ambient temperature while watching streaming services," Ellie confirmed. "And that's why they can't understand us," Dave said, surprising himself with the insight. "Human communication is like 90% not meaning what we literally say." Jack scrolled further. "It gets better. Look at this biological data. Their neurological structure is completely built around logical processing, contradictions, absurdism, paradoxes. They're physically uncomfortable for them, like nails on a chalkboard." A slow smile spread across Ellie's face. "So, when humans act like, well, humans, it's like psychological warfare," Jack finished. A sudden alarm blared through the ship. Red lights pulsed along the corridors. "Time to go." Ellie grabbed the phone from Jack, disconnecting it from the alien port. "I've downloaded everything we need." As they ran for the exit, Dave asked, "So what's the plan now?" "Now?" Ellie's grin was almost predatory. "Now we get really, really human on them." Admiral Vex'Naal's patience had reached its end. Across the planet, invasion forces were reporting unprecedented failures. Soldiers distracted by entertainment, confused by contradictory human responses. Some even beginning to question the purpose of the invasion after conversations with the locals. "Deploy the compliance wave," he ordered, his voice deadly calm. "Full planetary coverage." Weapons Officer Grexter hesitated. "Sir, the compliance wave has never been tested on a species with Earth's neurological diversity. The results could be unpredictable." "The results will be obedience," the Admiral snapped. "Deploy, now." Throughout the Armada, massive emitters powered up, generating a sophisticated energy field designed to render populations docile and compliant. The Zor'Kravian Empire's most closely guarded technology, developed over centuries of conquest. The waves swept across Earth's surface, interacting with every electronic device, every communications network, and, crucially, the Internet. For 30 seconds, there was silence. Then the reports began flooding in. "Admiral," a communications officer called, voice trembling, "something's happening to our ground forces." "Are the humans surrendering?" "No, sir. Our soldiers are posting." "Posting what? Their positions?" "No, sir. Selfies, with captions about their feelings." The officer swallowed hard. "The invasion force in Paris is sharing images of themselves at local landmarks with the caption, 'Living my best life.' The Tokyo contingent has started a group called Hot Alien Summer, and the New York division is rating street food on a scale of 1 to 5 tentacles." The Admiral stared in mute horror as the main view screen displayed a stream of images. Zor'Kravian soldiers posing with Earth's civilians, trying Earth fashions, creating elaborate fantasy stories about their invasion journey, and sharing deeply personal thoughts about their career choices within the Imperial military. "Shut it down," he roared. "Shut down the compliance wave." "We can't, sir," Weapons Officer Grexter replied, looking up from his console with an odd expression. "And honestly, I'm not sure we should. I just realized I've never told you how I feel about." "If you value your career, you will not finish that sentence," the Admiral hissed. In the UN Command Center, Ellie's team watched the chaos unfold on global monitors with a mixture of disbelief and delight. "It's working better than we could have hoped," Ellie said, scanning the data they'd retrieved from the alien ship. "Their mind control technology has somehow merged with our social media algorithms, creating the perfect storm of oversharing," Jack added, watching footage of alien soldiers taking group photos in front of the pyramids. "But it won't last," Ellie warned. "Their systems will adapt. We need something more sustainable." She tapped the biological data on her screen. "And I think I've found it." Look at these neural response patterns. The team crowded around her monitor. Their auditory processing centers show extreme sensitivity to irregular patterns and emotional content, Ellie explained. In other words, music, Dave exclaimed. Complex music would drive them crazy. Ellie nodded. Not just any music. The more rhythmically complex, the more emotionally charged, the better. So what are we talking about here? Zoe asked. Classical? Jazz? Everything, Ellie replied, already typing commands into the system. From bebop to heavy metal, from classical Indian ragas to Norwegian death metal, the works. She looked up at her team, eyes gleaming. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Operation Drop the Beat. Within hours, every broadcasting station on Earth had been repurposed, satellites redirected to beam music directly at the alien fleet, emergency broadcast systems reprogrammed to blast everything from Mozart to Metallica, from Beyoncé to Balinese gamelan orchestras. Across the globe, humans turned their speakers to the sky and pressed play. Activate the Reality Restructuring Engine, Admiral Vex'Naal commanded, his voice echoing through the sanctum of the inevitable conquest. Before him loomed the Empire's ultimate weapon, a device used only twice in 10 millennia of conquest, designed to reorganize a species' cognitive processes at the fundamental level. The humans will become logical, orderly, conquest-ready, Chief Scientist Koldrak assured him as the crystalline core hummed to life. Their chaotic thought patterns will align with Zor'Kravian ideals. And their internet, the Admiral asked, having learned to be wary of Earth's digital network. We'll use it as the transmission medium, Koldrak explained, reaching every human simultaneously. The engine discharged in a blinding flash. On monitoring screens, a wave of energy visibly rippled across Earth's surface, transmitted through every device, every network connection. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a technician giggled. Every head on the bridge swiveled toward the sound, a sound never before heard on a Zor'Kravian command deck. The technician immediately covered his mouth soap, looking horrified. I apologize, Admiral. I just thought of how we've spent 17 years developing this technology, and the humans defeated our first waves with cat videos. He burst into uncontrollable laughter. Horror spread as other officers began to feel it too, a strange lightness in their thoracic cavities, an unfamiliar twitching of facial muscles. The engine, Koldrak whispered, eyes wide, the effect is reversing. At that moment, Admiral Vex'Naal felt something bubble up from his thoracic cavity. Before he could suppress it, a short, explosive "ha" escaped him. The command deck fell silent. In Zor'Kravian culture, such spontaneous vocalization was a taboo so severe it hadn't occurred in recorded history. He began, struggling to maintain composure as he thought about the absurdity of their invasion. I shall. The laughter burst forth, uncontrollable and horrifying. Unable to continue, he staggered away, seeking the privacy of his quarters. It's like their weapon merged with Earth's social media algorithms, Jack whispered as he, Ellie, Zoe and Dave crept through the flagship's corridors. Instead of making humans more logical, it's making the aliens more human, Ellie finished, eyes wide. Throughout the ship they witnessed Zor'Kravians experiencing emotions for the first time, some weeping at Earth's sunsets on monitoring screens, others debating favorite colors, several attempting poetry. When they reached the Admiral's quarters, they found Vex'Naal curled before a view screen, watching cat videos with tears streaming down his face. They're so small and fuzzy and completely illogical, he was murmuring. Why do they knock things off elevated surfaces while maintaining eye contact? It serves no evolutionary purpose, and yet I cannot stop watching. He noticed the humans, but instead of calling for guards, simply gestured at the screen. Have you seen this one? The feline is startled by its own reflection. Why am I feeling things? Dave, hanging at the back as usual, stepped forward with unexpected confidence. That's the paradox of cats, man. They make no sense, but they make life better. Kind of like most good things. The Admiral stared. Explain. Dave reached into his delivery bag and pulled out a pizza box. Like pizza, nutritionally illogical, messy to eat, different every time, but... He opened the box. Worth it. The Admiral's nostrils flared at the aroma. What is this, pizza? A perfect metaphor for human existence, Dave replied. A combination of ingredients that shouldn't work together but do. Adaptable, best when shared. Imperfect but satisfying. The Admiral took a cautious bite, eyes widening. This is chaos in edible form, multiple competing flavors, inconsistent texture. It is? That's humanity in a nutshell, Dave continued, settling beside the Admiral. We're messy and contradictory, but maybe that's not a flaw. Maybe it's more advanced than perfect logic. Elaborate. Perfect logic is predictable, but the universe isn't logical. It's chaotic, random, full of quantum weirdness. So maybe embracing chaos, like humans do, is actually a better adaptation to reality. Vex'Naal stared at his pizza slice, having an existential revelation. All these millennia, we thought we were advancing by perfecting logic, eliminating emotion. But what if we've been evolving in the wrong direction? Meanwhile, across Earth, the invasion had transformed. Zor'Kravian soldiers were trading advanced technology for what they considered exotic treasures. Sunglasses, hot sauce, novelty t-shirts. So this device purifies water instantly, a street vendor in Rio confirmed. And you want to trade it for sunglasses? The alien, already wearing 3 Earth hats stacked atop each other, nodded enthusiastically. Plus, I look cool. This is optimal exchange. In London, Zor'Kravian scientists interviewed humans about weekends. You just don't perform labor for 2 consecutive days? And this increases productivity? One asked, taking notes. Fascinating. I've submitted a request to remain on Earth for extended study. Dr. Chen's team watched these developments on the Admiral's monitors with amazement. It's working, Ellie whispered. Their weapon completely reshaped their society instead of ours. Admiral Vex'Naal, now on his 4th slice of pizza, looked up with newly expressive eyes. I think, he said, that the inevitable conquest might need a new name and a new mission. 3 months after, the week we accidentally reverse-colonized space, Admiral Vex'Naal addressed the Zor'Kravian High Command. The once feared military leader now sported mirrored sunglasses, a bright Visit Earth t-shirt, and flip-flops on 2 of his 4 appendages. The austere chamber had transformed too. Council members reclined in ergonomic chairs, one sipping from a mug labeled World's Best Galactic Conqueror, while a screen displayed a paused episode of The Great British Bake Off. Esteemed colleagues, Vex'Naal began, skipping the traditional 17-paragraph greeting, Operation Earth Subjugation has been successfully restructured into a cultural exchange initiative. High Commander Zor'Kravian, traditionally the most conservative council member, adjusted his Earth-acquired reading glasses. Is it true humans have over 1,000 variations of pizza? 1,412 at last count. My personal favorite is the Hawaiian, though this remains controversial among humans. And they voluntarily include weekends in their labor cycles? Another council member asked. And happy hours? Added a third with something resembling a smile, an expression previously unknown in Zor'Kravian physiology. All true? I've implemented a provisional weekend policy for our fleet. Productivity has increased 43%. The council erupted in enthusiastic clicks and hums, the Zor'Kravian equivalent of applause. Let it be recorded, announced Zor'Kravian, removing a small paper umbrella from his beverage, that the invasion is officially reclassified as First Contact Protocol, Friendship Edition. On Earth, Dr. Eleanor Chen was being sworn in as Earth's first ambassador to the Zor'Kravian Empire. My first official act will be establishing Galactic Flicks, an interstellar streaming service introducing binge-watching to the galaxy, she announced. Once alien civilizations discover just one more episode syndrome, we'll achieve diplomatic parity with species thousands of years more advanced than ourselves. In the audience, Jack Ibarra sketched designs for his new venture, Ibarra Adaptations. His prototype, a toaster doubling as a teleportation device, had attracted significant alien investment, despite occasionally sending bagels to Alpha Centauri. Nearby, Zoe Patel finalized plans for the first intergalactic cultural festival with representatives from 12 alien species. At Hudson Community College, Dave Miller's new course, How Humans Accidentally Conquered the Universe with Memes, had become so popular that it moved to the main auditorium, with several Zor'Kravian exchange students taking meticulous notes on every joke. In Los Angeles, Vex'Naal pitched to network executives an intimate look at a Zor'Kravian family experiencing human culture. We call it Keeping Up with the Kravians. As they enthusiastically offered him a contract, his communication device chimed with a priority call. The Vrulgath Dominion, he explained, checking the caller ID. The oldest empire in the galaxy. And they're calling because, Ellie asked, concerned. They're worried about the human infection spreading through our empire. Concepts like weekends and memes are causing distress among the elder species. His mandibles clicked in amusement. They want to know if they should quarantine our sectors. What will you tell them? Vex'Naal adjusted his sunglasses and grinned, a very human expression he'd been practicing. I'll suggest a face-to-face meeting. After all, we'd be happy to introduce Earth to these other empires. Cultural exchange is our new mission, is it not? When the stern face of the Vrulgath Supreme Hierarch appeared, Vex'Naal's formal bearing dissolved completely. What's up? He greeted, looking directly at Ellie with a deliberate wink. The Hierarch's confused sputtering was cut short as Vex'Naal turned back to the executives. Now, about that contract. I think we'll need to consider a multi-season arc. The galaxy is about to get a lot more human